It's a robot. And she's a goddamn robot.
What if the moment we are in right now is actually the calm before the storm? What if American society is about to get thrown into such upheaval that it makes our current political crises and global conflicts, even the pandemic, look like bumps in the road? This is an idea that many voices in the tech world are pushing in interviews, in viral blog posts. And the idea is this. Progress in artificial intelligence is moving so fast that very soon, we are talking single-digit years here, it would have replaced huge swaths of the workforce. This is scary stuff, and we wanted to get some context from people who are watching AI's impact on the economy closely. For that, I am joined by Kelsey Piper, a staff writer at The Argument. Kelsey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
And we've also got Martha Gimbel at the Yale Budget Lab. Martha, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with that. It feels like in the past few weeks, this conversation about AI job loss has bubbled out of the tech world and into the mainstream. I mean, I, for one, have gotten like a half dozen texts from freaked out friends sending stuff around like, what's going on here? Martha, why do you think this is happening right now?
I think part of it is that there legitimately has been an acceleration in what the technology can do over just the last couple of months. I think there's also a broader issue, which is that people are just incredibly anxious about the economy right now and where it's going. If you look at, whether people think they're going to lose their job in 6 months relative to where the unemployment rate currently is, they're really negative. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when people are piling on saying that we aren't going to have any jobs in 2 years, that's not going to help.
That does create some anxiety. Kelsey, you have been covering AI since ChatGPT was a twinkle in Sam Altman's eye. Can you explain to us some specific examples of what these models can do now that they couldn't do a year ago, 6 months ago?
Yeah, so the biggest launch in the last 6 months has been the wide launch of agent models, which are, instead of just responding to you in a chat screen, they go out and do things. The biggest thing they do is code. They are really remarkably good at writing code. 6 months ago, I was hearing from people, it's kind of like having a grad student that you can ask to run some analyses for you. Now I'm hearing from programmers, I don't really write code anymore. I just write a spec, and then the AI builds the code that I ask them to build.
So this is a specific thing that it is better and better and more autonomous, and that is a real trend that is happening.
Very much so.
Okay. So, Martha, a lot of jobs are theoretically at risk, but I want to start by looking at what we actually know already. You and your colleagues at the Budget Lab have been looking at the actual data. What does it show so far, at least, about AI-related job loss?
That there really isn't any, certainly at the macroeconomic level. You can look at the technology and you can see the potential, but you need to remember that technological-related labor market disruption is not instantaneous. It happens in the context of IT policies, company concerns about liability, broader economic growth trends. And so I think it's really important to keep all of those things in mind when talking about what jobs are going away, becoming more popular, and how fast this may happen.
That is what is happening now. That is what has been happening over the past year. That doesn't mean things couldn't change going forward. And I know you and your colleagues have compared this in many ways to the Industrial Revolution. Why is that a good way to think about this?
I think the thing about the Industrial Revolution is you did see a really big shock to labor. I think sometimes you hear economists talk and we will say at the end of technological change, living standards are higher, we are always better off. I do want to emphasize the period of disruption can be really, really hard for people. I am very grateful that I have a job that is more highly paid and I have higher living standards than the weavers did. I also would not have wanted to be a weaver during that time period. Their lives became really, really hard. And I do think we need to think about, is our social safety net prepared for the type of disruption that could possibly be coming?
And Kelsey, I know you spend a lot of time really optimistically thinking about worst-case scenarios of AI.
Yep.
Where does the Industrial Revolution type scenario fit there? Like, do you think that is the high-end worst-case scenario? Or how are you thinking about this right now when you think about what could happen over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes, so I think Martha is entirely right that we have not yet seen significant AI-associated job loss. I think almost everybody who's worried about this, what they're doing is not so much, oh, I've already lost my job to AI. Most of what people are saying is, all right, imagine that we learned the new class of students entering the workforce in 2028 was going to be 10 million people, 100 million people, and all of them are willing to work for pennies. You know, maybe in the long run, the economy will end up being much wealthier because of this huge influx of productive labor. But as people who will be competing with that productive labor, we are not necessarily thrilled. So if you think that that's where AI is going, millions and millions of AI agents that will work basically for free, then I think people are completely right to be scared of that. You know, that will probably, in the absence of very decisive policy action, make your life worse.
Both of you are saying in different ways, a lot of the outcome will depend on policies, federal government policy, state government policy. Are you seeing those policies being carried out, serious conversations in any way, shape, or form right now?
I think that right now the government is being caught very flat-footed. But one thing that we saw with COVID was that if a shock does hit very suddenly and affect a huge share of the American public, Congress can move into action very fast. But that's not the only way this is guaranteed to happen. And if instead you have much more creeping job loss and disruptions, I think it's very easy to imagine Congress not getting their act together.
I want to end with this tsunami of internet takes that started this conversation. A lot of them kind of ended with, here's what you can do as an individual. And I personally veer between like, okay, I need to learn a lot more about how these large language model programs work and incorporate it into my job, or I want to go entirely analog. I hate this all, and I'm just going to get offline. Both of you think about this a lot more than most people. What is like one thing you would say to somebody in the job market right now? Martha?
I mean, one thing, frankly, I would say is to take some of the takes that are circulating out there with a grain of salt. People are not thinking enough about what are the barriers to get things established and going in companies, how long it takes for companies and workers to figure things out. There's also a question of what people want. I'm sure that at some point in the future, someone could build maybe a robot that could raise my child for me. I'm not having a robot raise my toddler. And I think that's a pretty common reaction. And so we have to see how consumers respond as well.
What about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think it is worth keeping in mind that it is both true that AI is a really big deal, and at the same time, a lot of takes are hysterical. A lot of takes are selling you something. Anybody in particular who's like, you have only a few years to become a millionaire or you're like consigned to permanent poverty. I don't think that's true. Often when you look into it, they're trying to convince you to gamble, which is one of those ways to, in fact, make sure you end up in poverty. Mm-hmm. There is certainly a ton of nonsense out there.
That is Kelsey Piper, staff writer for The Argument, and Martha Gimbel, executive director and co-founder of the Yale Budget Lab. Two very smart human beings. Thank you so much to both of you for talking to us about this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thousands of nurses at hospitals across the greater Los Angeles region are on strike this week. The surge of labor action in healthcare is pointing to something bigger happening in the industry. And so for some help understanding this moment, we turn to KCRW's workplace reporter, Megan Jamerson. Megan, thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So, Megan, who exactly is on strike right now? It seems like it's really happening everywhere.
There's 5 hospitals right now, and the biggest is at Kaiser. It was at a peak of 31,000 workers across California and has been going on all month. But some of those nurses and other healthcare workers there have gone back to work. And then this week, 4 more hospitals went on strike at USC and in Inglewood, Tarzana, and Anaheim. And they didn't plan to do this all at the same time. But when you add all of this up, you get over 21,000 nurses and other healthcare workers on strike.
Wow, that is tens of thousands of healthcare workers that are on strike, Megan. You know, you and I, we've seen nurses go on strike before, but this seems like a pretty high number. Is this unusual? Why are we seeing this?
It is unusual, and it all goes back to COVID. You remember how unhappy and stressed out our healthcare workers during the pandemic were? You know, here's how John August of Cornell puts it. He's an expert of labor relations in the healthcare industry.
The current state of crisis in healthcare has been long in the making. And we don't want to attribute it entirely to COVID, but COVID was an accelerator.
August says the pandemic accelerated some big problems in the industry. For nurses, the work is very hard. The pay is not wonderful. So people don't always want to do these jobs. And then you have staffing shortages. And then what happens is there's not enough people left to do the work. And those who remain are burning out. And there's also less competition in the job market right now because hospitals have been consolidating. So there's not as many places to go to get a job that pays more. And the nurses, specifically at Kaiser, say the hospital can afford to pay more and improve staffing because last year Kaiser made $9.3 billion in profits.
So what we have here is a kind of confrontation between long-standing dynamics, I think, of nurses feeling undervalued and underappreciated and oftentimes understaffed versus a system that looks all-powerful and ought to be able to meet the needs.
Now, Kaiser says they can't meet nurses' demands. They're under a lot of stress with changes in the way that the federal government is reimbursing healthcare, and they're defending their staffing practices as well, and they say they follow the law.
Megan, hearing all of that, I mean, $9.3 billion in profits, I'd imagine folks are frustrated, to say the least.
Yes, they are. Here's Zachary Pritchett, who was out on the picket line at the Kaiser in East Hollywood this week.
We haven't struck before this round of negotiations since the 1980s, early 1980s, and that is not a labor dispute. It is clear and present danger of a system collapse. And we're out here sounding the alarm that people need to start paying attention to what's going on in healthcare.
And here's one example he gave me.
Kaiser operates like an airport, like an airline. They double, triple, sometimes quadruple book patients in hopes that somebody won't show up.
And he says a lot of times when they do show up, they're really, really sick.
Patients can't get in to see a specialist for up to half a year, and then they're sitting at home waiting, and they get so sick they have no choice but to come to an ER or an urgent care, so it clogs up our system.
Nurses also told me they can see their colleagues breaking down. Hector Raygoza is another ER nurse, and he was on the picket line.
You know, you see it in their eyes when they're just overwhelmed, just because they're having to manage a lot of these sick patients. And there's a lot of mental, moral, physical stress that's placed on us.
So these strikes continue, and not all of these people will be out on the picket line until they have a deal. Some hospitals do have an end date for their strikes, but Kaiser does not, and so on it goes.
On it goes indeed, wrapping up a fourth week now of strikes. Megan Jamerson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That is KCRW's workplace reporter, Megan Jamerson, on Morning Edition.
Our final story tonight is from Germany. The country is planning to change how workers take sick leave. You see, right now, German workers can call in sick over the phone. They do not need to visit a doctor. Instead, they just need to make a phone call to their doctor's clinic, and they get up to 5 days off with full pay. This rule came in during the Wuhan virus pandemic and has since remained in place. But Chancellor Friedrich Merz now wants it gone. He says rising absenteeism is hurting the German economy. So now his government wants workers to visit a doctor in person before they can take a sick leave. Critics say this move goes too far. Our next report explains why.
A phone call. Up to 5 days off work, full pay. For years, that has been enough for many workers in Germany to call in sick. No trip to the clinic, just a call to their doctor's office. The rule was introduced during the COVID pandemic to keep waiting rooms from filling up. It was later made permanent for short-term illnesses. Doctors could issue a sick note over the phone, usually for up to 5 days, if the patient was already known to them. But now, Chancellor Merz wants to change that. His party, the Christian Democratic Union, has voted unanimously to scrap phone-based sick notes. If the proposal becomes law, workers will have to see a doctor in person before being signed off, even for minor illnesses. And Merz isn't framing this as a minor policy tweak. He's calling it an economic problem. The numbers are hard to ignore. German employees take an average of 15 sick days a year. In Britain, that figure was 4.4 days in 2024. Germany also guarantees full pay for up to 41 days of illness before health insurers step in. As per one estimate, sickness absence costs businesses €82 billion, or over $96 billion every year. That's nearly €1,000 per worker. For an economy already struggling to grow, that is a number that stings. The economy has been stagnant for years. GDP grew by just 0.2% in 2025. Merz argues the country cannot afford what he calls edge-of-the-bed decisions to stay home. His health minister has launched a formal review of the current system. Business leaders are squarely behind the move. The chairman of Mercedes-Benz says high absenteeism has real consequences for business.
When absenteeism in Germany is sometimes twice as high as in other European countries, this has consequences for business.
Some employers have gone even further. They have reportedly hired private detectives to investigate workers they suspect of faking it. But not everyone is convinced. The Social Democrats, who govern alongside Merz, oppose forcing minor cases into clinics. They say phone sick notes reduce infection risks and ease pressure on already stretched surgeries. Trade union leaders have called it highly indecent to treat workers as suspected shirkers. And the medical community is divided. While some say the system invites abuse, others say the data does not support that claim. And Germany is not alone in having this conversation. Finland has discussed making the first sick day unpaid. France has explored tighter follow-ups on long absences. Austria and Spain already use stricter certification checks. Across Europe, governments are wrestling with the same question. How do you protect workers without paying the price in productivity? In Germany, that debate has now spilled into open political conflict. For Merz, cutting absenteeism is about reviving Europe's largest economy. For his critics, it risks treating workers as suspects rather than citizens. The phone call that once kept you home may soon require a trip to the clinic first. Whether that lifts productivity remains to be seen.
It's okay. See, the code doesn't say nothing against somebody going into business. That's, going into business is just going into business. That's all.
And turning now to one of the plaintiffs from today's case, that's Rick Woldenberg, owner of the Chicago-based small toy manufacturer Learning Resources. Welcome back to the NewsHour.
Thank you for having me.
Rick, last November you told us your tariff costs had risen sixfold, more than sixfold, in fact, in a single year. So what was your reaction when you heard the Supreme Court decision today?
Well, obviously, we were very gratified to have the support of the Supreme Court. We felt vindicated in our assertion that the tax that we were paying was unlawful. I can also tell you that it was a demonstration of the rule of law in action. And so I was comforted by the fact that I felt that the court was impartial and applied the law as written. That's important to everybody.
The tax, as you describe it, the added cost, how much of that did your company absorb and how much did you have to pass on to customers?
Well, it's an interesting question. I took a look at it, and our tax rate, federal plus state plus IEPA tariffs, was in excess of 100% last year. And so you can't stay in business if you make $1 and you pay more than $1 in taxes. You will eventually have no dollars. So we had to pass it on, and that tells you exactly why other companies had to pass it on too. You can't have a marginal tax rate that is greater than your earnings. So we passed on some of it. We passed on as little as we felt we could manage. And in heading into 26, we already decided we were going to win the case. And so we decided to treat our financials as if we weren't going to pay tariffs, and we didn't raise our prices. So we're actively trying to average our price down to where we think it would have been.
The president today, in railing against the Supreme Court, announced a 10% global tariff. So in practical terms, what actually changes for your business tomorrow? Well,
at least our tax rate went down because most countries were being taxed at 18, 19, or 20%. And when I say the countries were being taxed, I mean we were being taxed to the tune of 18 or 19 or 20%. So now at 10%, that's about a reduction in half. It didn't go to zero. And Section 122 can only impose a tax for 5 months. So I guess we'll see what happens after that.
As we were discussing earlier, the court in striking down these tariffs didn't spell out what happens to the revenue already collected. What's your hope and expectation?
Well, they did say that the law does not provide for tariffs. So the tariffs were unlawful when imposed. That means that the government took money from us they had no right to take. And just like paying too much in taxes, they have to give it back with interest. That's what the law provides. So it was never anyone's expectation, I don't think, that the Supreme Court would fashion a remedy. They will send it down below, but having for the remedy to be created. But they also said quite clearly these tariffs were collected unlawfully. That means they have to be returned.
And lastly, Rick, I'm not sure if you were watching the press conference with the president today, but he resorted to name-calling when talking about you and the other plaintiffs. I won't repeat what he said. Harsh language, choice words to be sure. I wonder if you have a response to that.
Somebody told me he said I was good looking. He didn't say that. I don't think that these issues are solved by pointing fingers, and I've not allowed our case to become political. So I don't have to take the position that we are against an individual like Mr. Trump. We were against the misapplication of law, and that's what we said. And so I'm not sure that any reply is necessary. Our company is located in Chicago. We make educational products that go into schools and homes. I don't know why anyone would be angry at us.
Rick Woldenberg, owner of the small toy manufacturer Learning Resources. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
This the city of Chicago. All right, so maybe you're one of the 81,000 people owed money from Cook County for property tax overpayments. If you are one of those, it looks like you're not getting your money anytime soon.
There's a back and forth between county officials and the technology company that was hired to overhaul the property tax system. Delays with that project led to late tax bills, you remember, last year. Well, now there's a new twist in this story. NBC5's Rose Schmidt live in our newsroom with more. Rose.
Alice and Stefan, we obtained a letter sent by the head of Tyler Technologies accusing County Treasurer Maria Pappas of berating them during this upgrade process and saying she used inappropriate language and repeated expletives. Pappas doesn't deny that, but she says she's fed up. She can't get taxpayers the money they're owed. Cook County paid nearly $87 million for Tyler Technologies to upgrade its property tax and court systems. The initial contract shows the tax system overhaul was supposed to be done by 2020. There have been multiple extensions, and it still isn't finished. As a result, the county mailed out property tax bills 4 months late last year. Treasurer Maria Pappas says she also can't process checks for people who overpaid their taxes.
The guy says to me, you pay the county employees their checks. Why won't you give me mine? How would you answer that if you're Maria Pappas? You would sit here and say nothing, or would you call Tyler and ream him out the way I did?
NBC5 Chicago obtained this 9-page letter Tyler Technologies sent Pappas Monday, alleging she used threats, vulgarities, slurs, sexist comments, even asking a staff member if they spoke English, and saying, I'm going to ruin you. We blacked out expletives they say Pappas used.
They're more than 6 years late. I'm supposed to sit here like this and act like a nun in a Greek monastery and not say anything? I don't think so.
So you're not denying that you said the things that they said?
No, I'm a hothead.
Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle's office told us the language is troubling and unacceptable, and the matter will be referred to the Department of Ethics and Human Rights for a thorough review. Tyler's CEO also claims Pappas didn't want the project to happen, writing, "You have berated and bullied my earnest and hardworking team members without repercussion or reproach, and you have tried to sabotage this project for the last time."
I've never tried to sabotage it. Why would I sabotage a project when my job is to get out bills, to collect money, to distribute money, and to send out $181 million worth of checks?
The man knot, race, class, genre, and the dilemmas of black manhood.
Black boys and men have to scale high walls to get a college degree. They're the least likely demographic to earn their diploma within 6 years. But mentors can help give them a leg up by sharing their experiences and connections to resources. And experts say there are more young people than mentors in Chicago who could benefit from this support. Local organizers have this plea for Chicagoans to put themselves forward and advice on how to do it well. We have more from WBEZ's Lisa, Corey, and Phillip.
I reach out to Cortez Watson Jr. to ask how students can go about finding mentors. He helps run a mentoring program on the South Side called Young Black Men of Honor. Pretty much right off the bat, he tells me I'm asking the wrong question.
Why are we asking the people with the least power to figure out something?
He puts it another way.
Don't ask these boys, ask the people who can show up.
Because black boys and young men trying to access college are already dealing with a lot. They're more likely than their classmates to have to balance work and caregiving with class and to be the first in their family to pursue higher education. And they are more likely to come up against the idea that they are not college material. Research has shown that mentors, especially those who are also black and male identifying, can help students feel less alone with all this and to help them figure out how to navigate it. But mentors with post-secondary experience are harder to find in black and segregated communities. That's why Watson Jr. says people of all backgrounds can and should put themselves forward.
It's really just starting where you're at. And then lots of questions, not lots of answers. Lots of questions,
Watson Jr. says, because mentors need to get to know their mentees and their circumstances before trying to help.
Your heart's got to be in the right place because the work is hard work.
You could be helping your mentee figure out how they're going to pay for their next semester of college, or brainstorming places to find community on their predominantly white campus. Nakia Samuels directs youth programming for the nonprofit Chicago Urban League, also on the South Side.
Sometimes it's so much trauma that you have to fight through. They're, having to be a babysitter, a caregiver for their siblings, all those things coupled with just trying to survive.
Samuels is launching a mentoring program this spring for black youth ages 11 to 21, funded by a grant from the city of Chicago. She's currently recruiting volunteers.
I just want people to know that no matter what your background, you always have something to offer.
Samuel says maybe you're into crafting or opera and you worry you won't be able to relate to a young black student. But chances are someone does share your interests. Even if they don't, she says, that's not what matters most.
A good mentor is somebody who is going to be respectful. They're going to be consistent, reliable, present. They're going to keep their commitments.
Consistency trumps frequency when it comes to checking in with your mentee. Just as important, Samuel says, is mentors being upfront about how much time and support they can offer.
If there's something beyond what the mentor can do or can speak to, there'll be other resources.
Maybe your mentee needs mental health counseling or is dealing with food insecurity. That may feel beyond a mentor's expertise, but it's very likely that they have a network of friends and colleagues who can connect students to just what they need. Sometimes, though, mentoring might just require listening and affirming a mentee's strengths.
Our children don't hear that enough, right? They don't hear this is what you're great at. It's always what you don't.
Finally, Samuel says,
you have to be willing to volunteer and expect nothing in return.
There may be times when your mentee doesn't follow your advice, or they screw up, or they face some kind of hardship. Maybe they're failing a class or about to drop out altogether. That can be hard to watch. But those are the exact moments when mentors need to be ready to listen, remind mentees of their worth, and help them move forward. Lisa, Corey, and Phillip, WBEZ News.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Today's date, still Negro History Month, February 26, 2026. So I have been told. Our weekly summit, Neutralizing Workplace Racism. We are on 1 hour earlier today. That is just today. That is not like changing for the weekly workplace racism segment or any other programs. Just today to accommodate Gusty's Goofy February itinerary. So just 1 hour early for today. I think I tried to say that for some of the programs earlier in the week, so I didn't catch people totally unawares. But either way, it'll be in the archive, and we'll be back to normal broadcast time tomorrow, and certainly for next week, Workplace Racism, normal time. Anyway, even though we are not normal time, it is normal procedure, not for spectators. If you have thoughts, suggestions, especially if you have figured out you don't need no mentor. In fact, things have worked out so well, you are the one I need to go and talk and offer suggestions, what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, because I have had such a lucrative and successful, well, I won't say successful, but at least lucrative and enjoyable career to this point. Let us mentor us, as they say. Tell us, how did you do this? Do you have any classes that you recommend, any fields? You're not worried about no bots and AI coming to take your job or none of that? You don't have people curse you out on the job and call you slurs and, hey, stupid, can you speak English? None of that. None of that. You are treated with courtesy, dignity at all times. You're compensated correctly. If there's a problem, people remain professional at all times when they speak to you. Even if you messed up, they don't come in there and floor and filth. Nope, nope, nope. We remain professional. If you figured out how to land yourself in a job like that, man, mentor us. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Let us know if you have ideas, thoughts, help some non-white people in the workplace solve problems without making new problems. Please share. The email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see, few things. One, before we even get to the audio that we heard at the beginning, last week, victim in New Jersey dialed in. He was talking about his delivery work, and specifically he talked about a particularly cantankerous customer who they had problems before. I think he tried to make a little joke or what have you, and that even riled this suspected race soldier up even more. And so he tried to, hey, let's see if we can make amends, move forward. What they say, put the best foot forward. So he says, hey, in the future, if there's any problems, I'm your, regular driver and all that. If you have any difficulties, problems with an order, something needs to be returned, anything of that nature, I'll give you my personal number. You give me a call. I can come back immediately, take care of any problems. He explained it to us last week. Now, the customer looked at him like, he had rabies. Like, what? Your number? You want to give me? I'm not trying to call you to buy no reefer. You don't give me your number. That was the kind of response that he got. And so we were talking last week, like, what do you think giving out your personal number for business reasons, not trying to be on the sly and do no dating, nothing like that, but totally business, legit reasons, sharing your personal number to help solve problems. And so a victim in New Jersey, he dialed in to share. Then Nick over the road dialed in. He also does some of the driving delivery work. And he said, no, I would not share my personal number in the workplace. And he went on to give his explanation as to why. He said, a lot of times, if you do delivery work, if you don't own the company, it's not yours, you work for somebody else, you don't know what the contract is in terms of what they have agreed to with their clients. It might even be in the contract if there is an issue or problem with a delivery that they are supposed to call the company. That might be in the contract. You don't call the driver or anything else. So his recommendation, no, I would not give out my phone number. Hey, let them call the company or whatever it is. I wouldn't give out my number. And I said, I was thinking about it last week, but that was not the only thing that Nick Over the Road shared. So I neglected to respond to that aspect because we had other people who called in and other things to talk about. But I did think that was important. I thought victim in New Jersey, totally logical. The way he explained it last week, totally legitimate. I'm very aware that in many workplaces, especially jobs where people work more than 40 hours, or you might be called strange hours, some jobs you are literally on call. So for some jobs, it's going to be mandatory. You're going to have to share, a phone number. They might even have to give you a phone. But for a number of jobs, or even before I even get into all that, for most jobs in the system of white supremacy racism, you will have to provide a phone number. For most jobs, not all. I guess there might be a few, but even if you're going to do sex working, pimp might need to text you from time to time. Where's my money? All the rest of it. So you probably are going to have a phone, which probably means that your employers probably already got your number. I've said that before. You can't have too much of an expectation of privacy. And I think we've even had incidents where people have talked about, through a variety of means, they found out that some of their coworkers had like their home address or home phone number or whatever. And I mean, it's generally not Leroy working in human resources. So if they got their cousins or friends or other race soldier that they get along with, they probably get your number and info anyway. All of that said, in a workplace, I think it is great to think in advance, even check policy and procedure. One, to see is this one of those jobs where you got to give up phone number, because I've had those too where sometimes you have to give up your phone number and everybody has to call and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So is this one of those? Yay, nay, find that out. And then once we go from there, man, maybe the better route to go is no, I'm not giving out my phone number, especially no delivery, nothing like that. Like, and I think Victim in New Jersey had told us that there's a financial incentive for customers to not call the help, to report a problem or anything like that, that you get bonuses. So I definitely get it. But yeah, if it's delivery or something like that where they have contracts with these folks and you don't know the terms of the contract in terms of what they are supposed to do, all the rest of it, and you don't really know how the person is going to respond. Are they going to, you're going to get a similar sort of reaction? Is it going to be, oh my goodness, he's trying to sell me drugs or something and give me his private number? And, I don't know, no pimp Leroy. I don't call you for, that sort of thing. So maybe something to think about just in advance, especially if there's any sort of discourtesy from the person that you're thinking that you might be sharing your number with. If this person is already seeming like they're a little rude, a little curt, already displaying the behaviors of a racist, that might be another one. Let me slow down. This person might, I don't know if I want to be giving them my number anyway, type of a thing. Definitely want to think about if other folks have experiences around that. Let us know. Again, check your policy and procedure, the type of job that you have. That might even be one to ask about when you do training on the job. Is this one where we, need to give our number out, or should we not give our number out to any customers or other coworkers? Keep your personal information personal, just so that you know what the protocol is for your specific employment. Anywho, that was from last week. The audio that we heard to start this week, they started off, they had the report about the ever-encroaching AI and job loss. They did say, importantly, In the interim, in terms of right now, today, end of February, I don't think anyone's going to be losing jobs right now, they said. But as we, move forward, it could be difficult transition, they said, especially for those who don't have a safety net, or if our safety net is not working correctly. If more companies are transitioning to AI, cheap labor, or no-cost labor, if it's AI, you don't have to pay anything. Hey, it might be that lots of folks are out of job. Even when they were talking in that segment, they were saying, hey, everybody's not going to be losing jobs today, and that technology is not right there for everybody to just go and get a bot to do all this stuff. And they even later on in that report, they said, hey, nobody is hiring the bot to raise their children. I don't know. I guess at this juncture, 2026, no, I haven't seen anyone ask the bot to raise their children. True. But I have seen people ask the television to raise their children. We've seen that for a few generations. The TV, the Wi-Fi, the iPhone, lots of that. Yes, we turned them over. The microwave even. I have seen lots of folks turn their children over. We've heard where folks, you turn one, it's about time for us to get an iPhone for you. That way you can go and entertain yourself on the YouTube, or I can go and do my own business on social media or whatever I'm doing. So if we will do all of that, a bot might be better than everything wouldn't a bot, don't you think? Wouldn't it be better than TV? Screen? Microwave? That's not even a screen. Anyway, so that's one. The rest of it, man, if all of that they're talking about, if they think it's going to be a rough transition, and oh man, what kind of safety net, and oh man, there could be lots of jobs that are lost, and if that's the trend that goes, and the technology is advancing so rapidly, particularly I would say for people who are just kind of starting their career, people who haven't even started their career yet, young folks, teens, oh man, that is a massive part of your job, talking to your child about reports like that and how you think about the future. What you, even as they're talking about their career and things that they want to do, be thinking about that. Do you think that job is going to exist 20 years from now? If you're 15, time you hit adulthood, 35, so-called adulthood, do you think that job is going to exist? And you can even tell them that might be a lot for you to even, conceive of now, but just think about it, and check information. Talk to people, as they said, so-called mentor, talk to people who are in that field. What sort of concerns do they have about this job in the future? Do they think this job is going to be here 20 years from now? What they said, questions. Telling these are questions that you can think about. You don't have to answer them today. You probably won't be able to answer them today, but be thinking about them. Maybe we'll revisit as you kind of prep and think about how you want to use your time and energy for your life and what careers you want to think about or pursue. Some of these might shift. Some of these, it's not even some, probably all of these are going to change drastically over the next 5, 10, 15 years. So man, you're going to have to be really about still learning, constantly learning, because there's going to be so many changes and updates to how all this operates. Lots to learn. Let's see. The nurses strike in Los Angeles. They just had the nurses strike in New York. There could be more of these situations. They've been talking about a shortage of nurses in general. And then they're going to get all these non-white people outside the U.S. because of that shortage come in. And we need folks to change these bedpans and all the rest of it. And aging population, aging white population, aging population in general. So this problem could be greatly exacerbated as time keeps clicking. And the racial component to the nursing strikes. I told you when they were on strike in New York a few weeks back, I saw a lot of non-white people out there. I'm sure some of them were born right here, born, wherever else on the planet, but I saw a lot of victims of racism. Same thing for California. And them talking about all of the reasons for why they are striking: poor pay, horrible work conditions, really hard work for the few nickels that they're going to give you, and then all the abuse that you have to put up with. And a massive part of that is racism. You get all these old crotchety Donald Trumps can't get to the bathroom. Negro, get over here. All that. And, do I have to tolerate? That's what I got to deal with in my work environment. Don't I have right? And then you're not going to pay us. And then with all the shortages and we get burned out, as they said, that would be another one. We talked about that a lot. Like, man, if I was going into the nursing field, they just went on strike in New York, and then they went on strike in California. They're talking about all these hospital consolidations and how that's making it more difficult for the nurses if they want work, and messing it up for them to get better pay and all of that. Like, man, that would be another one. Like, is this a field that I want to? Maybe we leave that one and let the bots do that. I think the bots can handle changing bedpans. You let them do all that. Definitely would be one to think about. I know we have a number of nurses in the listening audience. In Germany, I think Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, in Germany, they said because of the Rona, they had been allowing people to just pick. White people got to be in the Rhineland. But they said they had been allowing folks to just call in because of the Rona, and you could get a sick leave, no problem. You don't have to visit the doctor. You get up to 5 days off. They said that the average employee in Germany takes 15 days sick leave per year. I don't know about you all, but that is a lot of sick time. Like, that's more than 2 weeks per year of sick time. That's like not vacation. That's like just I got the gout, my arthritis and all the rest of it. 15 days. That's more than a day per month of sick time. I don't even get sick that often. Like, I don't know what the average is in terms of, or I guess they said some of the other so-called European countries, they said it was like a little less than 5 days of sick leave per year. I don't know if that's that. Now, we could pause and pay our respect to the grandsester, Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing. She does have a lecture where she talks about Germany, the people who live there, classified as white. She said, just look at the name, Germ Man. Now, she could be in error, but that is what it's right in the name, title of the country. So maybe that's influencing their health and sick leave. If not, I don't know what it is. Maybe they'll do a study on that. Maybe you got people that are shiftless, moochers, that L word, lazy. They just make up any old excuse to not go to work, and they said messing up the economy. Low key, I think that's another one. Might be white genetic annihilation. I think Germany is one of those places that they're talking about where we don't have enough white people. We don't have enough workers. They've been complaining about immigrants. We got to bring these dark people over here to work because we don't have enough people. That might be connected to their problems with the economy. Maybe even people taking off sick leave. They talked about the cost of it because you get the paid sick leave and all of that, and that's why they're trying to make all these adjustments and such. But, I low-key think that could also be related, directly, indirectly, white genetic annihilation. And I don't think too many folks here in the States, I guess you all can let me know, I don't think too many people have a policy where you can just call and get 5 days of sick leave. No questions asked. You don't need no doctor's note, nothing like that. Like, does anybody have like that at their workplace? 5 paid sick leave. And in fact, how many days of sick leave? Can you take 15 days of sick leave in a year on your job? Like I said, that's not even in addition to all the personal vacation and all the rest of it. Can you get 15 of just sick days on your job without being like pregnant or something? They are doing it up in Germany, man. Let's see. And they said they get the private investigator, see if you faking it. That seems kind of expensive too. Like, you have to have these people on a retainer. Well, they just sit there. They said she got the flu again. That's, fourth time this year. I think she faking it. You go over there and make sure she ain't at the amusement park. Like, for real? We'll see how all that shakes out. And we'll see if that migrates, where they start making it more draconian, taking away your sick leave, and you have to do all these extra effort to prove that you are ill. Let's see. The report on the tariffs and how they are impacting businesses. I thought that was really important. Again, Fuller talked about you can have a business as a victim of racism, non-white person. Hey, they can throw you off of the slave ship at any time, or they can tariff you out of business. Now, that was audio, so I don't know. The entrepreneur in the Chicago area, they had the educational toys. I don't know if that was a non-white person or a white person. If I had to guess, I'd say it might be a white person, educational toys and all the rest of it, and then filing a suit against Trump and all that to have the resources, and might be a white person, but I could be in error. Either way, as a non-white person, it will be a lot more difficult for you to deal with changes like that. If it's COVID-19 and we say you got to shut your business down, and we is people classified as white, same thing I said before, they don't come and ask Leroy and Lakeisha, what you think we ought to do, the business plan for COVID-19. That's not what happened. Even with the tariffs, they don't come and ask Leroy, Lakeisha, what you think about the tariffs? How's that going to impact Negro businesses? That's not, who cares? So that would be another thing to ponder, think about. Not saying don't go into business or anything of that sort, but those are the dynamics of the system of white supremacy, racism. There's so many things that we do not control that white people in 5 seconds can click, change, and oh my God, we were looking great, our margins and profitability for this year, and now, let's see, the report, Maria Pappas, Pappas, Maria Pappas, from the pictures and things that I saw, she looks like she would be classified as white. Video and everything, I could be in error. I do make false positives, but I think she would be classified as white. She also is in Chicago, Cook County. She works with the property taxes. They said Miss Pappas, she was upset because I guess apparently they've made errors or whatever the problem is in getting the property tax payments mailed out, where they overcharge people or whatever and they owe some refunds, and get all this straightened out. And she got upset. They said that she started yelling, cursing, slur. That's when I wanted more detail like that. Don't you do the Jeff Epstein and redact and we can't show it all. What kind of slurs did she use in talking to other employees about getting these property taxes together? What did she say exactly? Did she call some racists? Especially when they said she said the slurs and all this and cursing, profanity. Said she told the one person, "Do you speak English?" Now, see, that's when you're talking to somebody not white. We're assumed you speak mumbo jumbo or something. You don't even know the words coming out of my mouth. That's why we can't get nothing done. This sounds like Miss Pappas, you might be a racist. That's why you can go, I'm talking to a whole lot of non-white people, even that. What are the racial demographics of her subordinates, the people that she's talking to, assigning blame for why these checks or whatever it is that's messing things up with property taxes in Cook County? Is this a lot of non-white people? Did it filth flooring and you know, come on, man. Same thing I say, but professional in the workplace. That's when race soldiers love it. Now, my suspicion, if Miss Pappas, if she worked with a whole lot of white people, even if she is a so-called, she called herself, that was her in the video, she said, I'm a hothead, whatever that means. Even if that's the case, if she worked with a whole lot of people classified as white, I suspect she might be able to better compose herself. I don't think it would be all of this filth and threatening folks, unprofessionalism, and how she's talking to her colleagues. Even when it is a problem, we address things, move forward. I think that's more how it would be. Not, do you speak English? Filth, Florin, filth, and filth. Come on. And Jesse Jackson, but that's how we honor Jesse Jackson. Negro History Month, all filth, Florin, filth. Matter of fact, 2 times on Chicago, Elijah Muhammad, I believe this is in Minister Malcolm X autobiography. He talks about Elijah Muhammad's work career prior to the Nation of Islam. And he said he was on a job, and apparently he might have had one of Miss Pappas's relatives, and they did the same thing to Mr. Muhammad. Filth, Florin, filth, 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 Elijah, and you don't know filth, Florin, filth, filth. And Mr. Muhammad said, whoa. If you have to fire me, you can fire me if I'm not working up to par, but please do not curse me. I'm going to be professional. I respect you. I expect you to be professional or respect me. He's saying this in like 1930s or something. Apparently the white person he was working for said, wow, this nigger got some black self-respect. Okay. He said, okay, never cursed him again. Didn't fire him. I think that's in Minister Malcolm X's autobiography. My memory might be bad. It's been a minute since I've read it the last time. But on your job, I certainly always recommend be professional, no cursing. In fact, if you work on one of those jobs where they play music, sounds, and sometimes even on a job, in a workplace, they'll play a lot of old filth, Florin, filth. See, if you work in a job like that, I would even say something to the supervisor, owner, and put it back in the form of a question. Do you think this is promoting a professional environment? I mean, I love R. Kelly. I love the 2 Live crew, but I don't know if that's the most professional environment for the warehouse. And see, even if they say, no, I love 2 Live crew, Uncle Luke, that's my cousin in real life. Got to play it every day. Even if they say that, fine. At least you have it on record. I was trying to make the workplace more professional. Not cursing and slurs and filth, Florin, sounding like Sioux Africa. It's been my experience when people do get frustrated, because most workplaces, it's going to be a problem at some point. If it's weather, get a flat tire, somebody does get COVID, sick, dies, who knows? It's going to be a problem at some point where somebody gets frustrated and upset. If we're just loose and discourteous and unprofessional all the time, it can get really bad. People get frustrated or upset and they think, we strive for professionalism in the workplace. And even, I would say, try to connect the professionalism with safety. Because a whole lot of times you get in all that filth, Florin, and slurs and all that, all it takes is one person. What did you say? Let me go to the car and or let me bop you up, and all the rest of it. So just in the name of safety and minimizing conflict, let's keep it professional in the workplace. Be about that, advocate that at all times. Especially if you got hothead, because it might be a whole lot. She might not even be the only hothead that work there. Now what? And then the last segment that we heard, they were talking about the importance. The last segment, they didn't say the normal canard that there are more black males in prison than college. They didn't say that. They said that black males represent the least likely group to get a college degree in 6 years. Now that might mean we are on the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan, the indefinite plan. I don't know. But that doesn't sound like black male privilege to me either. That if we got to look at all the incoming freshmen, who do we think, by the time we get to the year 2032, who do we think is still not going to have a diploma? And everybody turns and looks at Leroy, who we didn't think should have been here to begin with. Maybe he played a basketball. You played a basketball, Leroy? That's got to be. You played a football? You got the brain damage? He definitely ain't going to graduate in 6 years and get the brain damage. Anyway, But they talked about the importance of having I'm not going to say the M word again because you're not supposed to say that, but having someone to advise you in an accurate and helpful manner through your career path. For me, for Negro History Month, I found that so repulsive. Not the most repulsive thing of the day, but it's pretty high on the list. Top 5 for sure. Why? It's 2026. If it's about mentors, and because I don't hear no segments about white people needing mentors, white women, talk all that patriarchy, white boys, none of that. Black people, period, really. Boys, girls, any of us need, that's the problem in 2026. We don't have mentors. And we don't have non-black mentors. Tell the truth. The problem is not, well, I'm interested in the symphony, classical music, art. You know Leroy, and I can't mentor Leroy. What kind of racist excuse is that? Even if hey, real talk, Mary Kay Letourneau grabbed Beasley and said, I'm into all that, let's go. You could have been Mary Kay minus the child rape. Minus the child rape. Are you telling me white people, I don't mentor a black child, I don't mentor no Negro? Practicing white supremacy, racism, period. Now, as it gets to the career part and all of that, hey, I would say for non-white people, we need to be active. White people do not want to mentor black people. They will look to sabotage our career. We will have to be active, finding people, and even a lot of it is just asking questions. They were suggesting for individuals who want to do the advising of young people that they ask those young people all the questions. What do you want to do? And what are your interests? And what job do you see yourself in years from now? And all that. You, as the young person or the one who in need of a mentor, we need to be the ones asking lots of questions. Lots of questions. Trying to understand if you're already in your job, you still need someone to recommend, suggest, advise in a constructive manner, kind of a roadmap for your career, things you should be doing, other trainings, certifications, supplemental education, all kinds of things that would be good to know. Asking questions to see if you can kind of derive some sources that you can rely on. You know, you can go talk to them from time to time, ask questions, get some guidance. Very important. That would be something I'd be talking to your child about from like high school and regularly in trying to develop these sources, college, academic level, and then carrying that on when you start your professional work, career, labor. Same thing, finding people that have constructive information will share that info with you, accurately so, at a time that you can use it to help develop your career. I guess for black people out there, if you have obtained some level of financial, I won't say, or if your career has been lucrative to some degree, or you've accomplished some things in your profession, hey, reach out and share that information with other black people. I think retired firefighter talked about trying to encourage other black people, hey, you could be a firefighter or a job with benefits and all the rest of it. You can go act the fool about the American flag. Go do it. Go mentor. Even they were talking about some of the other firefighters going and showing them the training. This is what you're going to be required to do physically, so you already know that in advance and what that whole process is going to look like, so you're not stunned about it. Go out, make time to mentor, talk to young black people. I guess from the report, they said particularly young, privileged black males. Ask them some questions and see if you can offer some constructive input assistance to helping to develop their career. Maybe even slip in a word or two about racism in the workplace when you chat it up with the young people. That's it. Folks have thoughts on any of the reports that we heard from the beginning and or your own situation. If you have any recommendations for victims of racism, help them avoid some of these problems in the workplace, or if you're having your own difficulties on the job, let us know. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Email untiljustice@gmail.com. Okle dokles, let's see. My folks are getting their act together. We're on all early and such. I will get one email and then see if folks have thoughts to share, especially if around the phone that we talked about from last week. If other folks have experiences around that, do you share your phone, workplace environment? You do not share your phone number? Let us know. Let's see. And we are at the end of Black History Month. If folks made it through February, you didn't have any tackiness, no insults, no crude peanut or fried chicken jokes from any of your suspected racist coworkers, let us know. But it looks like we have made it through the month, so maybe we won't have to hear any of that nonsense this time around. Let's see. I'll do one email, then see if folks have thoughts, observations to share. Let's see. Email number 1. Let's see. Hi, Gus. Cow's audience. Right Wing Ashley was hired by Shauna and work avoidant Wanda, formerly known as Incompetent Carrie, who used to be her line manager. I don't expect anything less from work avoidant Wanda, but how Shauna allowed Right Wing Ashley through is beyond me. I've sat on recruitment panels with Shauna, and she is a tough interviewer. Maybe this is one of her homies, little cronyism here. Right Wing Ashley did attend the debrief meeting on the complaint, but something tells me discussions have been had between Tristan, Phoebe, and Isabel, and they have her back. Of course, Tristan wasn't initially planning to attend either the debrief or tomorrow's meeting, which will cover improving processes and procedures. He wasn't interested, but all of a sudden, he saw the need to attend. Amina sent me a message praising how I led the debrief session. Later, she typed up the notes, circulated them to everyone who attended, including the company lawyers, thanking everyone for a really positive and informative session. Tristan then followed up, agreeing with her comments and the collaboration between teams. Humble Right Wing Ashley has not commented. Oh, so trifling, so trifling. Tristan echoed his comments at a team lunch today. They love those team lunches. We got to all get together. Oh, snack and have a salad. It'll be great. Praising me and Amina, Right Wing Ashley, and the lawyers were not present. He relayed positive feedback that he received from the lawyers, who were less than impressed with Fred and the rest of Isabel's team who previously managed the project. Remember, Fred is the one who had this material before it got passed on to our writer here. He was the one who had this for like 2 years. And what I said, lazy, shiftless. I said the folks in Germany, where they called out, took 15 sick days. This is Fred. He said, I got sick. I got a teaspoon of the Rona. I got to call out. I got to call out again. I got to call. He the one. You better get the private investigator to check on me to make sure. But he wasted all that time for 2 years and then handed it over to him and said, oh, man, I done got a little bit behind on the project. Y'all might have to catch up a little bit because I just been, fumbling and stumbling and lazy. That's Fred. I'm not impressed with him. So see, got all these old incompetent white people, lazy, shiftless, diabolical, sabotaging things. They still get to hang out and get a paycheck. Say, my sick white brother Fred, say, might be neurodiverse too. Continuing. Amina only started working on the project last November, and whilst that I agree that she is very collaborative and has no issue with receiving his praise, she is not responsible for building and maintaining a positive working relationship with the lawyers. And Tristan knows this. His racism will not allow him to give me any credit without attaching it to someone else at the same time. I think this is the same dude when they were last week, when our listener person writing this, she won the award. They put her name, she got nominated. They said, oh man, she's been working really hard, and let's nominate her right on. Woo! And they nominated her, and Tristan, he was the one. He said, wait a minute, you can give it to the nigger woman? Hello? Wait a minute. Oh, why don't you give it to her? And Ashley, and wait a minute. And he tried to nominate like 3-4 other people. He said, we just give it to the black female. I said, what? Oh my God. That is also consistent. Never supposed to be just this black person. We want to give her her due, give her her props. Let's everybody think. On Wednesday, we had our second team meeting. Amina had typed up the notes of the debrief session and asked if I wanted her to also type up the notes of tomorrow's session that will focus on improving processes and procedures. I thanked her for the reminder and for offering. I asked Right Wing Ashley if she could take the notes, as Amina did the previous meeting write-up. In the past, Right Wing Ashley willingly did meeting notes, but apparently she was too busy to do so. Her excuse didn't make any sense as she's attending the meeting, so there's no reason she cannot take notes. I did mention that sabotage thing before. My opinion, that happens so frequently, especially I already tried to sabotage this project and was talking behind your back and everything else. I'm just going to be willfully defiant. Can you take the notes for me? No, I'm not going to do it. You don't tell me what to do. I mean, you're going to be, I'm not doing it. I'm not fitting to do it. Now, willful defiance, and that's when you can expect, if you are a non-white person, you have white people who are your subordinates. Just look for even the most mundane, trivial way to, I'm not going to do what you say. She had told her before, like, hey, you guys, if y'all could just follow the directions. I'm not doing none of that you outlined. I'm going to do the exact opposite, in fact. Let's see. In saying no, she was doing two things, positioning herself above Amina and putting herself on par with me. She's still very subdued for the most part, but for the moment, she couldn't hide her true self. I didn't chimp out. Bravo. Instead, I suggested they both take notes. That way, Right Wing Ashley can ensure all points are covered. They both agreed without issue. Oh, I know she was mad. But I know Right Wing Ashley was probably mad. She was hot. I don't care. She's not threatening Amina she's not treating Amina as a slave in front of me. A few weeks ago, Shelley sent me a message in Teams asking about the complaint received and whether the letter had been sent. A few weeks earlier, I had asked for information on the progress of a project she is working on, as the lawyers suggested we may need to reference it in the letter. It was concluded that there was no need. Shelley already knew the answer, but is fixated with me and is overly interested in any project that I manage. She had picked up that we were going to do a debrief to go over what led up to the complaint and learn any necessary lessons. I thanked her for giving me the information I needed and apologized for not letting her know that it was sufficient. She already knew the answer and was scheming a scheme. Now that is like master deceiver. It seems like she's told us like many times where people, like all levels, sometimes it seems like it'll be people that are her superiors. They already know this information, but they will waste time and email or contact her to ask all these questions where they already have this information? It's just time wasting and time wasting and time. That is so mad. Like, everybody should be thinking about that in the workplace. Like, that is one of the massive, consistent articulations of white supremacy on the job, deliberately wasting non-white people's time and energy. She continues. She also asked if I needed her to manage the tensions in the debrief session. I don't know what tension or conflict she was referring to, but she's in the same team as right-wing Ashley, who could have been feigning anxiety about being blamed for her incompetence. But more than likely, Shelley saw an opportunity to undermine me and insert herself. I ignored her. Good job. I do not think she had any altruistic concern for, oh man, maybe I can, help decompress some of the tension here, get everybody back on one accord. I don't think that was it at all. It was more sabotage. She's probably been a part of some of these, sneaky talks and such that right-wing Ashley has had, either offline or after work or who knows, where they do their unjust networking and kind of collaborate. What are we going to do? This is what we'll say. We get in the meeting and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So, yeah, excellent job. You didn't ask her to come and offer her expertise. We do not need your assistance to reconcile things. Thank you. Even as you said, what tension? What are you even talking about? Did you hear something that I didn't? Master deceivers and master saboteurs. Full-time activity, composure is so key in all of that as well. Just one, so that you can think and accurately appraise what's happening, and then make the best possible decisions once you've kind of gotten a grasp of what's happening. But composure, all those little tacky incidents, they try and undermine you, and willful defiance, composure. As I said, these are the type of things that we should expect in the workplace. And real talk, even from other non-white people who are your subordinates, because that's how we've been trained. We're not supposed to have any regard for a black person who's a so-called supervisor, even if you own the company. Like, what? Whatever, nigger, you don't boss me. You don't tell me what. I don't listen to no nigger. That's kind of the attitude that everyone has been trained to have. So, even if you have non-white people, I would not be surprised to see some of these same behaviors. Same thing. Composure. Don't chimp out. Behave like you expected to be sabotaged. Much obliged for the email. The address again, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Again, we started 1 hour early today. We'll be trucking out of here, not even going all the way till 7. So trucking out of here. The absolute latest is 1 hour from now. So the absolute latest would be 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. So we have a little bit more than 60 minutes left maximum. If folks are spectating, we'll be out of here quick. But if folks have thoughts, observations, suggestions, star 61. But we were here an hour early. Wacky, or not wacky, but just full Negro History Month schedule for the month of February. So if folks have thoughts, star 61, let us know, especially if you had occurrences related to Negro History Month. Thoughts, if you have your own code about the phone, your use of your phone, or sharing your phone number in your work environment, let us know. We will be here on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Second installment on Dr. Colin Anthony Beckles, his dissertation, not a book, Pan-African Sites of Resistance, the history of black bookstores throughout the world. We just started it last Friday, so I don't even think we got past chapter 1. We'll resume tomorrow, normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Reading more important than watching television. I don't think we'll get to the parts where Dr. Welsing and Mr. Fuller pop up tomorrow. I think they're later in the report, but we will get back on the grind. Catherine Massey Book Club Friday. Saturday, compensatory call-in, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll catch up on news observations from the last week of Negro History Month, February 2026. That is February. And then I'll give updates. We should have white guests on the program as we roll into Women's History Month for March. Should be rolling immediately with the change of the calendar. I think daylight savings time even coming up shortly as well. But normal broadcast time for Friday. Saturday we'll update for the next batch of programs over the next few days or so. Context of White Supremacy. Invest if you think the program is constructive. Hit the blog racism-notes.blogspot.com. racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. Beneath the button, you'll see the links for PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Enormous gratitude to all of the investors who have kept us on the air for 17 years, hopefully worthy of your time and energy. You'll also see the link for the Amazon wish list. It is linked under Gus T. Renegade. Again, huge thanks to all the folks who have invested over the years, hopefully worthy of your time and energy. If you nabbed an item or three, much obliged. Let's see. We'll see if folks spectating or getting their act together. Hopefully, if you are not being mistreated, the tariffs are not impacting your job, and Doge cuts and all the rest of it, that has had zero impact on your employment and your potential as a wage earner. Well, one, hopefully you are taking notes. How did you do this? Write them out in great detail. Be as specific as possible. See if some of us non-white victims can replicate what you have done in the area of labor, and then you should for sure be able to invest. Hit the blog racism-notes.blogspot.com for the folks who your work environment is tremendous, professional, courteous, you are compensated correctly. Man, invest, and then maybe even write a book. Desperately needed for the rest of the victims on this here plantation. Let's see. Looks like folks are still spectating, I reckon. Sure. Give folks maybe 2 minutes or so to see if they have anything else they need to get in, or we will wrap it early if folks are spectating on our early Thursday broadcast for Neutralizing Workplace Racism. Again, we'll be back to our normal broadcast time for next Thursday here at the C.O.W.S. Just 1 week thing early so I can accommodate my schedule, get a few other things done here on the plantation. Let's see. Now, folks are got their thoughts together. I'm surprised I didn't hear as much about Negro History Month. I know folks, typically we have a few folks where they are assaulted or at least have to deal with some sort of no-count joke in the workplace for their February. Hopefully, if everybody got through with no snide remarks from anyone, right, or they didn't have any sort of chicken dinner, buffet, watermelon, anything of the sort, right on. Maybe we can get right on into March and just focus on doing our work, getting our raises and promotions, and deal with it next time for February 2027. But yes, if you did and just were not able to share, write them down. That's another one where I always think it is important not being surprised once February arrives, you already know there's a long tradition of all kinds of unnecessary and trifling commentary throughout the month of February. Sometimes it might not even be commentary. It might be signs. Like I said, oh man, we had to bring in the collard greens. No, you niggers love that for our favorite children and all the rest of it. So no chimping out. Composure. Expected that as well. Anything that can be a great illustration. You can try out counter-racist responses. You can take pictures, ask questions, give them the and continue your work. Lots of options, but the main thing, not being surprised about the practice of white supremacy racism really in February, March, December, long as the system of white supremacy racism is in existence. I think that puts us in a way better position where we can think logically and respond in a manner that will help us neutralize that situation, not get fired, security then clubbed us upside the head, thrown us out on the street and all the rest of it. Anywhoodles, let's see. Folks are still spectating, looks like. I guess we had folks who not being abused or terrorized in the workplace and or no suggestions to share with other victims of racism. We will get ready to wrap in. If folks are spectating, we'll prep and be here on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Catherine Massey Book Club will do our second installment on Dr. Colin Anthony Beckles' Pan-African Sites of Resistance. That'll be normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Friday. And then, as I said, Saturday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, compensatory call-in, wrap up, go over what's gone down past week or so on the plantation, see if folks have any other suggestions, observations to share. That said, sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. We need high-functioning brain computers to make great decisions, figure out how to get this here problem solved, especially in the workplace. We do not need every happy hour and going out to the bar with all the folks that we work with. Like, come on. That's not what we want them picturing when it is time for a promotion. That said, Creator, we ask that you remind us. Stop saying not all white people are racist. Remind us. Stop name-calling people classified as black. Remind us. Stop producing throwaway offspring to be raped by Mary Kay, drowned by Susan Smith. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.